It is so good to be back with you guys. Hello, everyone. If you are jumping on, whether it is on live or on the recording on YouTube when we post it there, please go ahead and say hello. Let me know that you are here. So today, I really want to talk about, really working with compassion and making the choice to begin again and again, because often when we start a new year, we come in with great intention. We are going to, you know, be the best version of ourselves. Maybe that is doing exercise, or maybe it is, getting rid of some old habits that don't serve us. Maybe it is creating something that we've always wanted in our life, but has been, we've put off. All sorts of things that we put in there. For myself, I don't set New Year's resolutions. I maybe have like an idea of the direction I want to go for my year, which leads towards my life. So I kind of have a 5-year plan, and we chunk backwards. For myself, I usually set a word that is going to be my word of the year. And this year I had set the word enthusiasm. And I'm going to talk about that today because we all, there's beautiful rituals that we can have, and rituals are created. We see this in meditation. We create rituals so that we can train the mind, train the nervous system, what's going to be coming up. Because the mind and the nervous system, they like to know what's ahead so that it can feel safe. So the first couple times that we meditate, it might be really difficult. But if we create a ritual around meditation, in other words, say we light a candle or some incense, we sit on the same cushion, or maybe we put a blanket on the couch, and we create a little ritual that we do to set ourselves up. By the third time that we do that, the mind is efficient. So it will be like, oh, okay, I know what we're doing now. And so it'll start preparing, and it'll get easier to slip in there. Now, not always, there's always going to be harder days, what's going on, we've got frustrations, whatever. There's other tricks and tools that we can use to help put that aside. But for the most part, the body, the nervous system, the mind will prepare for meditation when we create a ritual around it. The exact same thing we can do for our life. So I've shared tons about my own personal rituals, and I've held those rituals for a long time. And when I've slipped off of those rituals because life gets busy, or I put something else as a priority, then I'll start to notice that I get some energetic drag. And when I notice that, I'm like, okay, well, that's not really working for me. So what was I doing before that was working? And what do I need to add back in? So I always play with my rituals. I don't get really, I try to not be rigid with them, but to allow there to be growth, to allow there to be some level of fluidity while maintaining the intention of being grounded, wanting to be benevolent. So kindness in the face of anything. Those are tools, tapping into wisdom, tools that I want to be able to, or aspects of personality I want to embody in my days. And so I purposely create rituals around that. So at Christmas, I had some things, go sideways, because that's the way Christmas goes with family and everything else. We have these ideals, these dreams, these hopes that everything's going to be, a Hallmark movie, and things inevitably do go somewhat sideways because we're human, and that's just the way life is. And so there will be times that we get thrown off of what our intentions were going forward. Now, in my case, I didn't really recognize that I start to go offline a little bit. So I continued to do my brain dumping, and that's part of my ritual every morning. So every morning I wake up, I make myself a protein coffee, feed the dog, make a smoothie, and then I sit down and I do my brain dumping. Then I do heart coherence breathing, which I recorded and put on both the podcast and the YouTube. And then I do my intentions, and I set my intentions for a quarter. So I do the same exact intentions for 3-month chunks. And so I have 10 intentions that I work with that encompass, my overall personal life, my personal self, my, maybe finances, any dreams or goals I've got going on, my family. I have ones for my businesses, and then my spiritual life. So I have intentions that are for all of them. So I'm kind of keeping that holistic plan and movement. So this is what really helps me make sure that my day is being directed the way that I want it to. And by doing my intentions first thing in the morning, I'm literally telling my brain, these are the things that are important to me. So these focuses we want to have moving forward. It has been wild to watch these goals, these intentions come to life in ways that I would never have been able to create myself. So we just kind of stay open to the opportunities. And that's what we're really doing is we're co-creating. And so we can have these intentions. As Christmas happened and things went afterwards, I did all the things I needed to do to, work with my clients and all that stuff. But then I went on holidays. And I have, for over a year, maintained my rituals. I've added to them. So it was in June that I started doing brain dumping and intentions that specifically. So I, added those in. But I have not missed days. Maybe I'm late in a day, I get it a little bit later because I wake up later, something happens, but I always get them done. And so all of a sudden on this holiday that I went on New Year's Eve, I didn't. I took my books with me, never took them out of the bag. Uh, kind of just put a lot of that stuff to the side and just allowed myself to be busy. So I went to the gym each day. I had my protein starts to the day. I did all those things. I was present with the people I was with. There's lots of great things that were there. Ate too much, ate not, the healthiest foods, definitely drank quite a bit, all those pieces. But for the most part, but the one thing I didn't do is my morning ritual. So by the time I got home, I was tired. And part of that is a long travel day, 23 hours. The other part of that was that I didn't have my cup full. I hadn't actually taken care of myself on a spiritual realm. So although I'd done my workouts and I listened to spiritual work, I wasn't doing everything else. And all of a sudden I felt really heavy. I came home feeling somewhat dysregulated and kind of off center. I did not feel grounded. And I just kept thinking, oh, it was because of, the travel and being tired and needing to, clean the system out. And I didn't really think about how much I had dropped my rituals. And so as I came back into the day, I was dysregulated enough and didn't recognize enough that when I started work, I definitely didn't have that grounded, wisdom that I usually, enter my desk with. So I can hold the space for clients, but am I holding it for every other aspect of my life? And I wasn't. And so as things came up and then I'm like, oh, you're like not handling this as well. My emotions are more closer to the surface. I'm more easily irritated. And I had to take, accountability for not doing this. So first I had to realize you didn't do any of your rituals and then the accountability for it. It would still take a few days to recognize what had thrown me off of my whole path, and then go, okay, wait a minute, that was a trigger. You coped with it by just like ignoring things, which is like an old tactic, and kind of like I'm tired and you just to decompress. I'm going to go watch TV. Well, watching TV doesn't actually fulfill your energy. So every time we say that to ourselves, oh, I'm just relaxing. And it's like, well, you're not actually. You're bombarding your nervous system with noise and lights and all sorts of stuff. It's actually not letting the nervous system rest. And so we do this, we're going to have a glass of wine. We do all these things to rest or try to regulate ourselves. And they're actually things that don't do that. And I know this, and still we go through it. And so all of a sudden there's this old thing that gets triggered and I go into an old response, and it can happen to all of us. And so we just set ourselves up the best that we can. And then I noticed as I became aware of it, as I was brain dumping, there was a lot of shame and there was a lot of guilt and there's a lot of embarrassment, especially because I teach this stuff and I'm coaching it all the time. And here I am dropping the ball on myself. And so all of a sudden it, wants to come up, and to sit and watch my own ego, be there and then go, okay, let's try to soften. So the characteristics of our spirit, of our soul, one of them is compassion and curiosity. Well, two of them, compassion and curiosity. And then there's like clarity. What do we got? Clarity, courage, connectedness, calm. So, these are aspects or characteristics of our spirit. And so can we tap into those as we're looking at this picture of what's been going on? And so as I started to recognize what was happening, I really needed to get compassionate with myself, start to be gentle, because when we drop the ball on something, when we stop doing the things that serve us best, whether that is we stop exercising or we stop eating healthy or we start gossiping or judging, we stop doing our spiritual development work, whatever it is, when we start doing things that don't serve us and we know they don't serve us, and then we justify them, which justifications and excuses are just well thought out lies by our ego. And so when we think of that, it's like, okay, why am I justifying this? What is it trying to cover up? What is it trying to protect? And so as I was going under that, I started to go, okay, we actually have something here that we just need to let go of. Because the key here is when we slip, we want to acknowledge it. We want to take accountability for it, responsibility. But what we don't want to do is judge ourselves, blame ourselves, get really hard on ourselves. We do this thinking like, oh, well, this will keep me more on track. But it actually doesn't work. It's like beating a dog. So maybe the dog's going to listen in the moment, or he's going to listen, but is he listening because of fear? Is he listening with tension, out of concern for survival? Because none of that stuff is actually good for us. So we want to make sure that when we're treating ourselves or talking to ourselves, that we're doing it with loving kindness. And if we can't do it for ourselves with loving kindness, so if I can't be compassionate with myself when I drop the ball, then even though I am being compassionate and thoughtful to other people when they slip, when I'm dealing with a client, the undercurrent that they're going to pick up on, my vibrational frequency is not going to match my words. And so I can only be as compassionate with others as I am compassionate with myself. And you might want to disagree with this because I used to. But we are only capable of giving what we have. I'm only capable of giving unconditional love as much as I have unconditional love. And if unconditional love lives within me, then it's going to be automatically absorbed by me and given to me. And so it reminds us to be gentler. And the truth is often we tell people that, like, I understand, but in the back of your head where you're not saying it out loud and you're not telling anybody else, you're judging the shit out of them. You're maybe doing it kind of in a little whisper in the back. Oh, if they really cared, it might be a little passive aggressive silent comment that happens there, if we're really honest with ourselves. And so the more that we can be compassionate with ourselves, like, oh, you slipped here. Then when we're meeting somebody else and they slip, they have a moment, and you be like, you know what? I've been there. Here's, how it worked for me. How can I support you as you get back on track? And so now we create a deeper connection with somebody. But, note that, because what I found fascinating was this week was telling people about it and sharing that information was how many other people slipped. And one of the things that they were struggling with was the judgment, the shame, and the embarrassment, because they judge other people in their head for not getting their shit done, doing their work, getting all these things done. And then they drop the ball. They're like, oh my God, this is how I judge people. And so this is how I got into this habit of, being more compassionate to other people, was when I saw myself doing it. So inevitably, if I was driving down the street and I would judge somebody's poor driving, within like 30 minutes to an hour, I'd do the exact same move. And then all of a sudden I'd be aware of it and I'd be like, oh, they're just like me. And so that's what I want to bring you guys today, was like how I came back onto track here. So as I was, edgier at work, I was definitely, my emotions were more at the surface. I was feeling more raw. I was definitely being, a little bit more heavy-handed with myself. I was like, okay, Dawn, you got to double down. So I picked up my book and I started brain dumping again. I started doing my heart coherence breathing. I went back into doing my intentions. And then the other thing I did was I was like, no, you're going to double down here. It's time for you to pick up a spiritual book again and really start, even if it's just a few lines, but just start coming back. So I did. And the book that I picked up, I actually brought it with me today, is because I do all different kinds of books and stuff, is Pema Chödrön's Becoming Bodhisattva. And so it's a guide for compassionate action. And so I had never finished the book, but I'd read it years ago. And so I picked it back up as one for me to go back to this last little bit. So as I jumped back in, I was on chapter 3 or verse 3. And all of a sudden we were at this Bodhisattva vow. And so as I was reading it, it was giving me a lot of understanding to myself. And it was like pretty much saying, Bodhisattvas make these vows to work in the enlightenment of the world. And they make a vow to not attain enlightenment until the entire world attains enlightenment. So they're saying, I'm going to be a warrior for everybody to win. I'm not going to leave anybody behind. And so this kind of idea and Bodhi means awakened or enlightened, and bodhicitta, which I have tattooed on my arm, means awakened mind and open heart. So we're aspiring to achieve enlightenment, to have and live with an open mind, to live with an open heart, and so that is the goal that we're going for. And so as I was reading the book, it started talking about the Bodhisattva vow and this vow that they take. And it's a big deal. When they take this vow, they're committing their entire life to this purpose. And so first, before I go too far on this, is understanding what a vow is and what it's not, and how we can use this as a practice that can be powerful for us. And so how I chose to kind of look at this and incorporate it into my life and into my day, just what I wanted to share with you guys. And so I'm just looking at my notes here. I said this isn't about discipline, it's about how we return. So, coming back to renewing our vow to ourselves. And that's the key, is we just want to renew our vow to ourselves each day. But if we can do it on a regular practice and renew the vow each day, which is one of the things Pema Chödrön was talking about, she said the first, it's about 11 verses, this vow. And of these 11 verses, each verse is about 4 lines. And so she takes the first 2 verses, the first 8 lines, and she repeats them 3 times in the morning before she gets out of bed. And it's to remind herself of who she chooses to be today. So often when I'm coaching people, I say, put a sticky note in your bathroom mirror and have it say, who do you choose to be today? So you're making a choice instead of just being the person you were yesterday or the person you were last year. You get to choose again today. And so instead, by doing the vow, it's saying, this is who I choose to be today, and making it really consistent. So trying to make a consistent practice. And when you miss a day, it's like, oh, I missed that. So we don't just let ourselves off the hook, but we don't beat ourselves up. So what we want to do is we want to extrapolate the wisdom. So how come I slipped off the track? Like what was going on there that this happened? And we do this, all of a sudden we're busier, we have something else to do, and everything gets a little more important than you or your connection to your spirit, your soul, to source, to your own alignment, your own growth. And what could be more important? And so, which is an interesting question. And so we keep coming back to this. And so allowing ourselves to continuously renew the vow. And so what the vow actually is. So a vow is not a promise or a resolution. So you can make promises to lesson, and they all have a different kind of context to them. But a vow is a conscious orientation of energy. So conscious meaning it's something that we actively choose. We've looked at the whole of it, and now this is our choice. And we orient our energy into what that vow is. So when we make vows for a wedding, we're taking our energy and we're orienting it towards that relationship. By taking a vow to ourselves, then what we're doing is we're orienting our energy into that relationship with our soul, with our higher self, deeper self, most expanded self, spirit, soul, whichever you want to call that. And so we're creating this beautiful vow around that. And it lives not in the mind, but in our nervous system. And if we continuously repeat and we do it with intention, we stay present when we're doing the vow, what we also start to do is we're starting to rewire that subconscious mind. And so what will happen is things will come up that we're unaware of, so that the subconscious mind holds, it's like crazy, like 93% or something of our daily actions and behaviors. And so something will come up and we'll start to notice what habitual patterns we have that aren't in alignment with our vow. And we become aware of them so that we can make the adjustments and choose. So they're not punishments. They are a way for our soul to let us know what needs to be released so we can continue on the path that we choose for ourselves. And so in here, one of the reasons that she talks about retaking the vow over and over again is because inevitably we are going to drop the ball. And we can blow up the vow in one moment of anger, one moment of frustration. We can kind of make everything go sideways. And so the importance of us really keep coming back to it. As I was reading this, I was looking at my notes. Please use me, please lead me, please show me the way. I used to say this every morning when I woke up. Every morning it sat on a nightstand table in a picture frame, and it said, I call to the highest vibration of love and light to join with my highest self, and I ask for your guidance. How may I be of service today? Please use me, please lead me, please show me the way. And so this was, it was my way of saying like, okay, here's something that we can come back. And so the importance that she brings up is to be patient with ourselves because we have habitual consciousness, because we are not conscious 100% of the time, we're going to slip. And the key is that we want to keep coming back and repeating that vow and going, okay, I slipped. How did that happen? Extrapolate the wisdom out of that, let go of the shame and the guilt, and then renew the vow to really sincerely try again, to try harder and to make that an active participation. And so in doing this, I did a YouTube this week that kind of talks about this in depth. So I won't go too long on this, but it talks about the 3 different levels in which we can practice this work of this commitment. And one level is the king or the queen, where we're working with ourselves first. And although it's in the benefit of the kingdom or the queendom, it is really we're only project. And then the next level that we do this on is the level of the ferryman, which is just like me. And so we look at, we're driving down the road and people are cutting us off, or they're losing their minds, or they're distracted. And we look at them and we acknowledge they're just like me. I too can be distracted. I too can be trying to do 3 things at once. I too can lose my mind. I too can be an asshole. I too can not be paying attention to other people and be self-absorbed. And so it's not in like tongue in cheek to that person, but it's sincere, like, oh yeah, I too can do that. So it's a reminder for us, like, oh, if the world is reflecting me, then I need to adjust something so that it reflects something different. And then the third level in which we can work at is the level of the shepherd. And the shepherd always puts its flock ahead of itself. Now, this is a place we love to jump to and ends up leading to martyrdom. So there's some warnings here with this one, because if we don't do it step by step, so in other words, do our own internal work first, acknowledge our sameness with each other, the unity consciousness with the world around us, and then put others first, then we will end up burning out. And you'll have what a lot of women go through when they hit menopause, which is, screw you, I've given my whole life to you, now it's time for me. And that only happens because we didn't fill our cup. We didn't give ourselves a solid foundation to work from. And so resentment builds, even if it's silently, it's insidious. And so the importance of us doing the work where we are really making sure that we are our only project and we work on ourselves first. And then by working on ourselves first, we model that behavior for the world around us. And so by modeling it and doing that, we are always working in the benefit of the world around us. We don't have to, not take care of ourselves. And so this is the 3 ways in which we can work on our personal development, our self-care, on anything that we are trying to be better with. Why that's not wanting to come apart. And so the vow itself, so the vow can be broken, like I said, by harsh words, by a flash of anger, and remembering that it's not failure, it is human reality. It's no different than when we make a resolution in the beginning of January and then we break it. It's like, okay, I said I was going to go to the gym 5 days a week, and maybe that was a big attainment. And then I drop the ball and I don't go for a week. And then it's like, oh, it's all gone. And it's like, well, no, recommit to yourself again and start again today, not Monday. So everybody loves to do this. They slip and they're like, okay, on Monday, I'll go back. No, tomorrow or today, right now, reset the vow and go again without the judgment and the shame. It's like, oh, okay. I see where it slept. What did that? Was it a poor relationship? Is it somebody that's not being supportive? Maybe I need to have better, accountability buddies. What is that? Extrapolate the wisdom, start again. And so that is really what this is about. It's not beating the hell out of ourselves, but instead coming back into loving ourselves, compassion for ourselves. We are children and we are learning how to walk a conscious life. And just like when a child is learning how to walk, we don't beat it up when it falls. We don't make fun of it and mock it. We don't say, oh, well, you might as well just crawl for the rest of your life because you didn't get it right the first time, or the second time, or the 20th time. We give compassion and love and even tools and tips. How about you try this? What if you do that? And that is what we need to do for ourselves as we start walking the spiritual path as well. The conscious path of awakening is to coming back to ourselves all the time. And it's really, really about being present, being more and more present with ourselves every single moment of the day. And this is what we're coming into here. So the instruction here is to renew our personal vow every single day as a way to come back, to choose again. Alignment is not something we maintain. It's something we choose again and again and again. Again, this isn't about letting ourselves off the hook. It's about understanding that we're human and we're trying to learn a new way of being. And to do that, we also are undoing all these old habitual patterns. I already gave you the 3 paths of practice, so I jumped ahead of my own notes. So here we go. And the shadow and the shame. So part of what brought this forward for me was a client that was really getting hard on themselves and asking for some support, like how can I keep doing this? I feel so terrible about myself. And I'm like, why? Like, you made mistakes in the past, or you hurt people in the past because you were unaware. You were you weren't conscious. You were in habitual patterns. Now you're aware. Now we get to go back and send love to those people and send love to the version of ourselves we were then. And that can be really hard because we really beat ourselves up. And so when I was reading about the Bodhisattva vow, I was like, how can I bring this piece of wisdom into my life, and how can I use this for my clients as well? Because, I'm not a Buddhist and a lot of people aren't Buddhist. So how do we take this wisdom and use it in a different way? And so the way that I came up with was to create an aligned human vow, because that is my purpose in this life, is to create alignment, whether in all spiritual forms. So no matter what our lineage is, how can we create this alignment? And so being able to create a vow that we can take every day. And then of course I needed to go one step further, which was how can we make them personal? And so I want to share with you today on the group vow, the vow of the aligned human, see if that resonates for you. I'll put it here as well. I'll put it actually in a post. I'll put a PDF up, or a JPEG up, I guess, a picture of it so that you guys can see it. You can print it off. You can use it for yourself if you wish, as well as I'll put the printing in the comment to go with it. So you can always copy and paste that, and then use AI if you want to do the next step, which I'm going to give you guys today, which I added in yesterday. So it just kind of keeps growing and building as we go forward. So I want you guys to remember that we need to see the shadows. So see the habitual patterns that we're unaware of. That's what shadows are. They're just habitual patterns we're not aware of. Habitual beliefs, thoughts, or wounds and dramas of the past. And then we want to see them and not beat up, but have compassion and have love towards those old patterns that we weren't aware of. And then we want to extrapolate that and that wisdom so that we can choose again. Remembering that judgment, judging ourselves, judging other people, often masquerades as accountability. Oh, I'm just being I'm holding myself accountable by judging the shit out of myself. Not truthful. Not truthful. It's actually keeping ourselves neurotic. So let it go. Let it go and let's start choosing again. And so then I come in here is the power of the vow. So it's not, I'll try this again tomorrow, or I should be better by now. Because I've said those words so many times. I should be better by now. I should be better by now. I've said it about my brain injury. I've said it about my own spiritual and personal growth journey. I should be better by now. And it's really learning how to love what is. And today is the day that we're having. And it took me 50 years to get to this moment. And it's going to take more than a week to change these patterns and habits. And that's important. Hello. So as we're coming into these pieces, the vow strengthens the pause. So what I say, here we go. So the power of a vow will strengthen the pause. So it helps us take those moments and become aware so that we can keep pausing a little bit sooner rather than getting kind of drawn into that current that can happen. And a vow also that brings us back to a choice. So whatever our vow is that we choose to take for ourselves, we want it to be really powerful, really meaningful, and really personal. So this is the importance of personalizing and making it your own. And so I'm going to share with you guys the one that I wrote for the Aligned Human Vow, and then I will kind of share with you, I'm still working on mine, but I'll share with you the first version that I've kind of brought forward right now that I'm working on. So the Aligned Human Vow. I commit first to alignment, before action, before identity, before outcome. I choose coherence over control, presence over performance, and truth over conditioning. I vow to meet my inner fragmentation with awareness, to feel what arises without abandonment, and to return again and again to the unified field of the heart. I recognize that my inner state shapes my experience. I tend the field within me so that clarity, compassion, and wisdom may arise naturally. I do not seek awakening as escape. I seek embodiment as service. This, by the way, is the long one. I just realized I didn't bring the little shorter one with me, which is probably a bit of a problem. Actually, give me 2 seconds. Let's see if we can find it there, because this is a really long vow. If I can find the shorter one, it'll be much easier on everybody else. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, we'll go with the shorter one. It was like a 1-minute version of this big long one that I originally wrote. Okay. I pause. I feel my body. I come back to this moment. Today, I renew my vow not to be perfect, but to be present. I choose awareness over habit. I choose compassion over self-attack. I choose responsibility without shame. When I tighten, I will notice. When I react, I will return. When I fall into old patterns, I will extract the wisdom and release the weight. I do not abandon myself. I do not harden my heart. I remember, I am human, and I am capable of choosing again. In this breath, in this moment, I align my field before my form. I renew the vow to awaken, not someday, but now. So this is the first one. So coming from the Bodhisattva vow, kind of putting it with the Aligned Human that I created. Now, I want to share with you guys what I did the last couple days, which was now creating it to be a little bit more personalized. And so to do that, and again, still working on it because I was like, okay, actually, I want to shift this a little further and really kind of play in with my goals, my dreams over these next few years. And so, because it's always about keeping us on track. So what I did was I went to ChatGPT and gave him the Bodhisattva vow, gave him the Aligned Human Project and the manifesto and the mission, and said, let's create a vow. So we had the really long one. I'm like, I love it. It's really long. Let's shorten that up. So we need it to be a minute or less. Otherwise, it will feel like it's not really attainable and doable. So then we shrunk it down, worked a whole bunch together on it, and got to the one that I just read to you guys. So then I went back and I was like, okay, I love this. Now, what about personalizing it with my own values? So this is good for like a general overall that we can share with, coaching groups and all the rest in the world. But, what about a personal one for myself that I'm going to read every single morning that's going to really have impact for me? So I added in my values. So my personal values, my core values are courage, curiosity, intuition, integrity, and sovereignty. I added in spiritual growth and wisdom, because those would also be two more values that are really, really important to me as I'm coming into this. Um, and so then we came up with a different vow. So this one is a personal vow of alignment and sovereignty. So this is what can come up. So this is a great example of using AI and its benefits. And we tweaked, and I said we're tweaking still, but I like this one that it came up with so far. So today I choose alignment over habit and presence over pressure. I meet this day with courage, willing to feel, to tell the truth, and to act even when certainty is absent. I open myself to curiosity, meeting life as a living conversation rather than a problem to solve. I trust my intuition as a wise embodied intelligence, subtle, precise, and already guiding me. I lead and live with integrity, allowing my inner truth to shape my words, my choices, and my boundaries. I claim my sovereignty, remembering that I am not here to earn worth, prove value, or abandon myself to belong. I commit to spiritual growth and wisdom, not as striving, but as devotion. Learning from experience, learning from experience, listening beneath the noise, and returning again and again to what is real. I do not rush this day. I do not override myself. I act from coherence, not urgency. I align the field within me so that my life becomes the teaching. This is my vow. I walk it one breath, one choice, one moment at a time. I am the field. I shape the form. So I'd like to encourage you guys as we go through this, that when we are slipping, that we just keep coming back and that we start again in that moment. Not Monday, not next week, or don't assume that we blew up for the year, but we start again. And so we acknowledge it, we take accountability for what we've done and the patterns we slipped into. We take a moment to actually look at it. So I often give my people the job of brain dumping, where we actually really look at the whole thing so we can see what happened. And then we can pull that wisdom and start again anew. So my challenge to you guys, or my curiosity is this something that you would be open to working with? Is this something where you'd be willing to try making a vow to yourself? Maybe we take that Aligned Human Project vow and look at it first as a good baseline, and then add in what are your values, and then see, what you can come up with your own vow that you can read every day. And then place that vow on maybe your bathroom mirror, or maybe in a picture frame beside your sink, so that when you're brushing your teeth every morning, you can renew the vow. I highly recommend saying it out loud. There is a whole lot of science between the resonance of our voice, really bringing it into our nervous system, into our body, hearing it with our own ears, speaking it with our own tongue, really adds more power to something. And so if you're just not available, maybe there's people around you that aren't as supportive, reading it silently is just fine. Or maybe it's whispering it in a place that you're safe to do that. But creating a vow that is for you, that is in benefit to you, but also will in the long run benefit the world. And I want to remind you, alignment is not perfection. It's something we're aspiring towards. It's a place we want to go, and we want to spend more time in alignment than we do in chaos. But when we become incoherent, when we become into a state of chaos, to be gentle with ourselves, to acknowledge and then make the shift by making that choice, renewing that vow to yourself of who it is that you choose to be. And so often when we're like, I don't know who I choose to be, and then we just move on, then we miss an incredible opportunity to start creating our life right now. Um, it's also a reminder, alignment is about presence. It's important that we are present with ourselves, with our emotions, with the feelings in our body, and we stop dissociating. And these are the things that we can do to really help us. And the vow is how we choose to awaken again and again. So I will share that with you guys in a post right after this. I hope this had benefit for you today. And I look forward to hearing your feedback. What did this bring up for you? What can I do to support you on this journey as we head into this new year? Is there something that would support your growth, support your journey, support your healing? Is there any way that I can support you doing all of that? So please, I love to hear from you. Let me know. All right, you guys, I hope you have a magnificent day. I am really grateful for all of you and happy to be back in our community after taking that break. And I look forward to hearing from all of you. Much love. Bye for now.